It started with a text. Just a few words, simple and cold. We need to talk. Tonight. I stared at my phone in disbelief, the screen blurring as my heart began its slow, heavy rhythm of dread. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just a random argument blown out of proportion, but a knot had already formed in my stomach that refused to loosen. By the time I arrived at the club, my mind was a cyclone of possibilities, each one more unbearable than the last. The music thumped through my chest, bass vibrating like the pulse of some cruel drum. But I barely noticed. And then I saw her, my wife, standing near the bar, her face flushed, eyes wild, a glass trembling in her hand. The words tore through the roar of the club. Divorce me? For a second, I froze. My brain tried to reject the reality of it. I wanted to shout, to beg, to plead, but instead, I found myself answering quietly, almost detachedly. All right. The calm in my voice was a lie, a fragile veneer over the chaos inside. Her laughter, sharp, bitter, unrecognizable, cut through me like ice. It hadn't always been like this. There had been small cracks, whispers of suspicion I had brushed aside, the missed calls she forgot to return, the sudden silences when I walked into the room, the phone always face down on the table. I questioned myself first, wondering if I was imagining it, if I had become paranoid. But now, standing there as she screamed in front of strangers, the truth clawed its way into my chest. I remembered the subtle betrayals, the tiny things that had made me uncomfortable but that I had rationalized away. The perfume I didn't recognize on her scarf, the unexplained late nights at work, the way she would text furiously when she thought I wasn't looking. I had wanted to trust her, to believe in the life we had built, but trust, I realized, is fragile. After that night, the signs became impossible to ignore. A text left open on the kitchen counter, a calendar filled with appointments I wasn't invited to, and messages I accidentally saw on her phone when it buzzed too close. Each revelation was a jagged shard, piercing my memory of her warmth, the softness in her laugh, the night she held me close. Suddenly, every shared joke felt rehearsed, every kiss tainted. I questioned my own judgment. How had I missed it for so long? The confrontation came not with screaming or anger, but with quiet inevitability. I sat her down one evening after work, the sun slipping through the blinds in a pattern that made the room feel unbearably small. I laid out what I had found, each text, each secret meeting, each lie. Her face shifted through a spectrum of emotions, fear, guilt, defiance, sorrow. She didn't try to deny it, not really, but she justified it with soft excuses, claiming loneliness, claiming neglect, claiming that our love had changed. Listening to her, I realized that love and betrayal are not opposites but twisted companions. I could feel the love I still held for her, stubborn and raw, brushing against the pain that seared my chest. It was suffocating. I wanted to scream, to shake her until the truth settled fully in her bones. But I didn't. I let the silence stretch, heavy and suffocating, until it became impossible to ignore. In the weeks that followed, I grappled with what I had lost, not just her, but the version of myself that had trusted without question. I walked alone to the streets, replaying memories that now felt like mirrors reflecting lies. Our first date, quiet mornings over coffee, the way she had used my name with tenderness. Every memory stung, but also reminded me that I deserved more than deception. Eventually, I realized closure would not come from anger or revenge. It came from calm, from reclaiming my own sense of self. One morning, I packed a bag, not with resentment, but with quiet resolve, and left the apartment that had once been a shared dream. She watched in the doorway, eyes wide, tears threatening, and I gave her one last look. No pleading, no begging, just a recognition of what had been and what could never be again. Walking away, I felt the weight of betrayal ease just slightly, replaced by a quiet strength I hadn't known I possessed. Love had not failed me entirely. It had taught me something more profound, the courage to accept truth, the resilience to rebuild, and the painful grace of saying goodbye to someone who no longer belonged to the life we had dreamed of together. Even now, months later, I remember the music of that night at the club, the way her voice had cut through everything, and I feel a shiver of sadness, but also a sense of calm I could never have imagined in those early hours of heartbreak. Life goes on, not with the illusions of the past, but with the steady pulse of the self I have reclaimed.